Okay, Ed from RTE Sport. Did you want to ask a question, please?
Katie, how you doing? I
Hey,
suppose
how's it going?
just looking ahead to the fight. This must bring back memories of where it all began, I suppose, back in London. And have you had the time? Have you had a chance this week to think about the journey, I suppose, and what you did in London, where you are now? I suppose just how it's come full circle almost. Have you time to reflect on that, or is that for another day?
Yeah, I guess I've been asked a lot of questions about that this week, about that fight in London, and it's kind of has forced me, I guess, to look back on it, and it was obviously such a great moment for me. I can't really remember much from the fight, to be quite honest. But I do just remember the atmosphere from that fight, and the Irish fans can proudly say that they broke the decibel levels in the arena that day. It was just a fantastic week for me, personally, of the achieving a childhood dream. I would have had no idea that 9 years later we will be facing each other again in the pro ring. But here we are. We obviously have great history together as amateurs, and we're facing each other again in the pro ring for the first time on Saturday night. So it's very, very exciting.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we go to Gav Casey next, please.
Hi, Katie. Hope you're well.
Hey, Gavin. How's it going?
I think good. Thanks. Good. Thanks. I think off the top of my head, it'll be the first time you'd be facing a southpaw as a professional. So it's been a while now. At the same time, you would have been preparing for Amanda Serrano at a point last year. I know you did some work with Andy Lee, for example. I think sparring in order to prepare for a lefty at the time. So I'm just wondering, how has that affected or changed your preparation in advance of this fight?
My preparation hasn't really changed much from fight to fight. Obviously, the sparring partners changed. That's the only part that actually changes during the training camp. So I've had some standing southpaw sparring over the last few months, and so that's never an issue really. So yeah, I'm feeling very, very good ahead of the fight. I did fight a southpaw, I think, before with the girl Minka as a pro early on in my pro career, but obviously that was actually a late replacement as well. So I didn't. This is the first time where I actually had proper southpaw sparring as a pro, and yeah, I feel in good shape. I'm ready to go. But yeah, nothing much has changed from training camp to training camp, but just the sparring partners.
Perfect. Cheers, Katie.
Yeah, thanks, Gavin.
Okay, we go to David from Radio France for your question, please. If you just pop yourself on unmute, David. Okay, David, we'll come back to you shortly. If we move on to Jim Condon next, please, for your question.
Hi, Katie. Jim Conlon here from RCB Radio Sport Ireland. Katie, 3 years ago, I spoke to Clarissa Shields on radio about the possibility of a dream fight between yourself and Clarissa. And she told me that Katie will always take care of business. She's the best of the best in the lower divisions and the lower weight classes. And I'll take care of the business in all of the top weight classes. But I'd love to see it happen, Clarissa said, but I can't see it happening. Is that something that you share the same sentiment?
I'd say so, Jim. I think there's too much a weight discrepancy there. Would be the equivalent of Lomachenko getting in against Golovkin, for example. So I mean, I can't really go above 142 pounds. I think for a lot of people it will be a fantasy fight, but I don't really feel like it'll be very realistic for that fight happening. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of fighters in and around the lightweight division who I'm actually focusing on, and that's it really.
Cheers, Katie, and best luck. We're all cheering for you.
Thanks so much, Jim.
Okay, I've got Jake Donovan from Boxing Scene, please.
There we go. Thank you, Katie. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to ask, this is your third fight since the pandemic. Has there been any difference in training from your first fight, given there was so many delays, as compared to this camp where you've had sufficient time?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess there early on in the pandemic it was probably a bit trickier. The gyms were all a bit closed, and it was harder to get sparring partners, for example, in the early stages of the pandemic. But thankfully, where I'm based in Connecticut, it has opened up there quite a bit over the last few months. So it hasn't been that hard really really to get to get back into the gym and to get the rounds and with the different sparring partners. So it has been quite easy over the last few months, I would say. But earlier on, it was definitely a lot trickier.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Katie. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
Okay, if we go to Wingy Boxing for your question, please, mate.
Hello, Katie. How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Not too bad, Dad. Not too bad. How has the perception of women's boxing changed in your eyes since your first pro fight up until now? What have you seen? The major changes that stick in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I was making my debut 4 or 5 years ago, people really didn't know much about women's boxing, for example, and I'd say it was just a bit up in the air in terms of they didn't know whether this was going to be if this was going to be the real deal or not. So just looking over the past few years, it's just seeing the barriers being broken, and in every single fight card right now, there's probably a huge female fight, and people are actually excited about these female fights now. They're not getting laughed about anymore. They're actually serious fights that people are actually interested in, and I think we have made so much ground over the last few years. So it has been a great time to be involved in sport.
I've only got one question, or Dan will tell me off, so I better go. But I'm going to catch up with you in the future at some point. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Wingy. If we go to Andy Waters next, please.
Thanks, Dan. How you doing, Kitty?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, thanks. Kitty, Natasha has been quoted as saying, she's stronger now, she hits harder now. That you did, 9 years since, since your Olympics fight. I mean, how have you changed? I mean, how's your style developed since then?
Yeah, I think we're both very, very different fighters now than we were back then, and that's why I can't really draw much from our last fight in the Olympics. We're both very, very different fighters now, and I say that we both have transformed into good pro fighters, and professional boxing is obviously so much different than amateur boxing, and what works in the pro game isn't going to work in the amateur game, and vice versa. So we're both very, very different, and but yeah, I'm looking forward to a great fight. I don't even think I answered that question, but
no, that's 100%. It's just I was going to ask you. So far, 2021, it hasn't been a great year for Irish boxing. With Carl Frampton getting beat and Sean McComb and Paul Halen, with a couple of people pulling out, Ando Kakachi as well. Can you get your thoughts on Frampton, on the legacy that he leaves behind? I mean, you're a 2-weight world champion yourself. He was going for 3. It didn't happen, but still, a terrific career that he had.
Oh yeah, an incredible career, a legendary career, really. He's been in there against the best, never ducked any fighter. He was obviously taking a big risk, stepping up and weight in the first place, and trying to become a 3-weight world champion, but it just didn't happen for him. But what an amazing career, and he's leaving the sport as an absolute legend. So congratulations to him. He's had a phenomenal career.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Kitty. Best of luck.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. If we go to Ron Lewis next, please.
Katie, hi there. Everyone says in women's boxing that Katie Taylor is the one that sets the bar for everyone else. Who sets the bar for you, and how do you keep pushing yourself on to higher and higher achievements?
I mean, I'd say this generation of fighters have definitely achieved an awful lot, that's for sure. But I was saying this earlier on, but that we're also standing on the shoulders of many great fighters as well. The likes of Deirdre Goberty, who's actually a hero of mine, Jane Couch, Layla Ali, Lucia Riker, who's a phenomenal fighter. Anne Wolfe, Christy Martin, these kind of girls who actually paved the way for us as well. So I guess for me, I just want to continue to tear down those barriers and to continue to make it easier for the next generation of fighters. But I'm just so grateful for the fighters that went before me that actually paved the way for me to be in this position as well.
Excellent. Cheers, Katie. Good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. If we try David from Radio France again, please.
Yes, hello, Katie. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And sorry about my mic problem. You have already won everything among amateurs and professionals. What else do you have to accomplish besides defending your titles? And have you ever thought about retirement?
I don't think I'm thinking about retirement as of yet, but obviously I can't do this forever as well. I know that I only have a few years left in the sport, but right now I feel very fresh and I feel quite good, and I'm continuing. I obviously still love my job as well, and that's what motivates me. I still absolutely love this job. I'm still not tired of getting up in the mornings and doing the road runs, for example. But I just want to continue to improve. I want to obviously. It would be amazing to become a multiple weight undisputed champion if that's a possibility. And I just want to be involved in the biggest fights possible, and I just want to continue to tear down those barriers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David. If you go to Sasha Jones, please, next.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Sasha.
Obviously, you had a couple of close fights against Pursuing. Are you feeling any pressure for a standout performance against Tasha?
No, I don't feel any pressure at all. I think I look at those performances as great victories, and obviously the first fight was a lot closer, but I think I showed in the first fight that I have a lot of heart and a lot of grit and determination, and I came out with a grueling win. The second fight was obviously a lot more clear cut and a great performance, so I felt really good after that fight, and I don't feel under pressure at all. Really, I guess there's pressure going into every fight. Because I know that I'm aware that a lot of the times I am the favourite going into these fights, but that's a good thing as well. I think pressure is a privilege, and I feel privileged to be in a position where I am winning fights, where my record as a fighter is a good one, and that's why there is pressure, because it's a testimony that you're actually doing well in the ring. So I see it more as a privilege rather than a pressure.
Thank you. Good luck at the weekend.
Thank you.
Sasha, if you go to Danny Flexen from Seconds Out.
Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Yeah, hi. Not too bad, Danny.
Good. I spoke to Tasha a few weeks ago and asked her if she felt your fight should be the main event of the show. And she said any fight involving Katie Taylor, regardless of the opponent, should be the main event, given your undisputed status. I just wanted to get your view on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to being the headline actor, I guess, but regardless of whether we're a headline or not, I think this fight could be the show stealer of the whole night. I think it has the potential to be that kind of a fight. I know when we fought twice as an amateur, they were both edge of the seat type of fights, and it could be the same on Saturday night as well. But I'm just glad to be involved in a big fight again, regardless of whether it's a headline act or not. I'm just happy to be involved in such a huge fight, and in a fight that people are really genuinely excited about. So it's a great position to be in.
Thanks, Katie. Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Danny. If you go to Andrew Ryan next, please.
Hi, Katie. Andrew Ryan with the Whittle People. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Andrew.
Good stuff. You've spoken about, you've reflected on how far women's boxing has come over the years since you've turned pro. But looking back on that fight with Natasha at the Olympics and the atmosphere within the arena that day, do you think that had any significance in demonstrating the potentially untapped appetite for women's boxing at the time?
Yeah, I think that was the first time that people really seen women's boxing on a global stage. And I think a lot of people are saying that fight between myself and Tasha was the fight of the tournament, actually. And yeah, the atmosphere was obviously electric. I think we showed everything in that fight: the skill, the heart, the determination, everything that needed in a good match and in a good fight. So I think, yeah, for the first time in the women's game, people seeing women's boxing as absolute best, and since then women's boxing has gone on to do so much over the years, and obviously the pro game now is so strong because one of the reasons is because for the first time in women's professional boxing, these girls are coming into the pro game with so much amateur experience as well. They have that amateur background, and that's why you're seeing everything in the pro game right now with regards to women's boxing.
Thanks, Katie, and good luck at the weekend. The county's behind you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if you go to Owen Cowser next, please.
Hey, Katie. I don't know, did you see last Sunday, but Reeling in the Years was 2012. So the last 5 minutes of it was all about you. Do you ever have time to look back on what you've done, or is it always about looking forwards?
I definitely don't tend to look back too often. I am just that there will be a time for that when I actually retire from the sport. But right now I'm just focused on what's ahead and focus on these upcoming fights. But yeah, it has been an incredible journey, and from the amateur game to the pro game, it has been absolutely incredible, more than I could have imagined, really. So I am so grateful for the journey that I'm on.
Right, thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thanks, all.
Okay, go to Belfast Boxers, please. Conway.
Hi, Katie. How's things?
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. So firstly, did you happen to see Natasha's contest with Terry Harbour? And secondly, what did you make of her performance?
I didn't see the full fight, but I obviously seen clips of the fight, and yeah, fantastic fight. I think it was probably the fight of the year in my opinion. It was fantastic, and both girls showed so much will to win in that fight, and the skill involved in the fight was incredible as well. I know that Tasha had a kind of a rocky start to her pro career, and I knew that at the start that she wasn't showing her best, but definitely over the last couple of fights she has showed why she belongs here, and it was just a great fight. I don't know who won the fight now. It was obviously called a draw, but I'd love to see that rematch in sometime in the future myself.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Much best of luck for Saturday, Katie.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Okay, so if we go to Steve Bilton from Boxing UK, please.
Hi, Katie. It's Steve from Boxing UK.
Hi, how's it going, Steve?
Hi, Katie. Katie, just going back to the Clarissa fight, you said it wouldn't happen, but she proclaims herself as the greatest woman boxer of all time. Mm-hmm. Do you take personal issue with that?
I don't take it personally at all, actually. I'm not really too hung up on those things. I'm just trying to be the best that I can be, really. And I'd obviously love to be considered the best pound for pound fighter in the world, but that's all a matter of opinion as well. So I'm not really too hung up on those things. I just want to be the best that I can be. And Clarissa is obviously a phenomenal fighter herself. So she's done so much for the game, and yeah, she's doing a great job.
Best luck at the weekend, Katie.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we've got time for a couple more. We've got Tasha in the waiting room. Josh, apologies if I pronounced your surname wrong. Kasowitz?
Kasowitz, yeah. Hey, Katie, how are you?
Hi, how's it going, Josh?
Good, thanks. Kind of following up on that last question. There's debate about whether you're pound for pound number one or Clarissa is, or maybe even Amanda Serrano. Does that motivate you at all? Does it, when you're training or doing road work, do you think about, hey, I want to be number one pound for pound fighter? This motivates me. I don't know if you think about that, but is that something that motivates you, the potential to be number one pound for pound?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I would obviously love to be considered the pound for pound number one in the world, but I'm just trying to improve my own boxing ability. I just want to be the best that I can be, like I said before, and I want to be involved in the biggest fights possible. And so, yeah, I just want to go in, and it's important for me to go in and actually produce great performances each and every time I step into the ring, and that's why I train hard. That's why I get up every morning and do the road work. I want to show my absolute best every time I step into that ring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now for the final question. Just apologies to anyone that hasn't had a chance yet, but unfortunately we're on a bit of a tight schedule here with the full card. But if we pass over to Ames from Boxing News TV, please.
Ames here from Boxing News TV. Pleasure to speak to you again, Katie. Katie, I just wanted to get your perspective on, with the recent fight between Shannon Courtney and Ebony Bridges, there was a conversation about the way fighters should or should not promote a fight and themselves. I want to know what your perspective was on that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there is the fight was being portrayed in a certain way beforehand, but I think both girls showed absolute brilliance on fight night. It ended up being a fantastic fight, so that's all I'm concerned about, really. They showed the heart needed, they showed the grit and determination on the actual fight, and It ended up being a fantastic demonstration of women's boxing. So regardless of what went on beforehand, the actual fight itself was absolutely brilliant. So that's all I'm concerned about.
Appreciate that, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologies. One more. David Mohan. Sorry, I've just seen your message in the chat. So if you're still there, please feel free to fire away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Katie, saw comments, I think it was yesterday, from Joe Gallagher. Is he trying to maybe get under your skin by saying that you can be hurt in this fight, or how do you take that?
I think I don't think anyone can really get under my skin, to be quite honest. I'm not that type of person to be offended in any way. I'm just regardless of what's been said before the fight here, it's going to be settled on the actual night by the sweet science of boxing. It's not going to be settled by what's been said beforehand. So I'm just focused on the actual fight itself.
Grand stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Katie, really appreciate
your last outing with Terry Harper. Do you think mentally now that you're prepared to knock out Katie Taylor? Do you think you can't leave it to the judges' hands? Is that what you're preparing for?
I'm just like, I can only control what I can control, and the judges is not one of them. So, the boxing I can, my skills I can, and everything else is out of my control. So I haven't focused on the judges and on how they decide to score, because that's nothing that I can control. Not giving myself too much stress.
And going back, 9 years ago, the Olympics, you fought Katie before as well in the amateur scene. Did you ever think that you guys were going to cross paths in the pro scene and fighting for all the belts one day as well?
Yeah, I did. I think we was always on a bit of a collision course, and obviously me losing to Obanov just delayed that slightly. I think one of the best things that could have happened was the Terry Harper, because it's given me this opportunity. So, yeah, I think we've come a long way, but with two different fighters, but both present the best version of ourselves on Saturday.
Brilliant. Best of luck, Tasha, on Saturday night. Have a great day.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Devinder. If we go to Riaf next, please.
Hi, Tasha.
You all right?
Hi, Tasha. I'm sure it's been something you've been asked about plenty of times in the past, but just kind of going back to that 2012 fight, how did that shape you as a fighter? What kind of influence has that beat had on your career, would you say?
I think at the time, possibly in 2012, I honestly, hand on heart, believe that Katie was the only person that could have beat me. I was on a projection which was just, I'd come out of the World Championships on a different level and a different high after getting a bronze medal, and I finally believed in how good I was.
When did it first come into your mind then, sort of between that fight and now, when did it first kind of come into your mind that you kind of knew you were going to have to fight her again at some point, or wanted to fight her again?
I think I've always wanted to fight her again. I just, our paths have just never crossed since. And it sounds mad, but we've only crossed paths so few times, even though we was in the same way for such a long time. And it just so happens that it's now. And you've just got to take your opportunities when they come. As I say before, after the Obanov, I didn't know if I'd ever get back on the path. So it was just, like I said, once the Harper fight was done and dusted and the opportunity came, I've always took the opportunities when they come, and I've got it. So I'm not complaining too much now.
I know Joe Gallagher's made a few comments about Katie and about certain vulnerabilities, and obviously we saw in the kind of two Pursoon fights that neither of them really went her the entire way. I mean, you could argue she was fortuitous with both results. I mean, what have you seen in her? What weaknesses do you see that perhaps we didn't see prior to those fights?
I don't think it's about weaknesses. I just think the order of the boxer that she is. We have these same orders, but there's very few that we have them. Lomachenko's, Anthony Joshua's, and then someone comes along and beats them, or makes them human. And I think that's just what it was. It was we always expect such high standards from her that we always must put it on a pedestal kind of thing, and then someone comes along and just proves that they are just just like any other boxer. They have got flaws, they have got weaknesses, they are human and make mistakes. I don't take too much from the Pursuing fights because, you know, I'm not Pursuing and I don't box like that. So, you know, I think Pursuing is a tough fight for anybody. Work rate is very high. You know, his skill set's not as high as others, but you know, she makes up for it in hard work and determination. So,
thanks.
Okay, we go to Ringy Boxing next, please.
Hey Tasha, how are you? You well?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, right. I've got to make sure I get this quote right, because when you get boxers' quotes wrong, they get paid off. So I just wanted that right. I remember what you said on commentary on Sky Sports, I believe, the Bridges and Courtenay fight, that you was a little bit jealous, or you want to have that sort of moment that they're having. Do you see yourself here now, and are you ready to show and prove now you've got that moment that they had?
Yeah, I think anytime that I step into the ring, I want to perform well. But yeah, I was jealous. It has been such a long time.
I'm glad you said that and I didn't get it wrong.
No, yeah, I was. But, and you know, you sit there and you sit there thinking, when's it going to be my turn? When's it going to be my turn? And all eyes are on women's boxing for whatever reason. And the women are stepping up to the plate and showing that the eyes should be there for all the right reasons. And now Saturday, it will be our turn. And I think both of us will put on a good performance and a good show for the fans that are watching.
And a lot of people have said to me, I'm sure you've heard it, that in their opinion, they see this like as a top of the bill sort of fight. How do you feel when you hear that? Does that make you not perform differently, but do you go into the fight with a different set of expectations? Like you want to sort of really show people what you can do when you get there?
I don't take it like that. I just think that it shows for me how far, you know, women's boxing has come from the days of, oh, it's the women, you know, and now all of a sudden it's, you know, why aren't these headlining a pay-per-view card? That shows how, in such a short space of time, how far it's come and how accepting the fans are and how appreciative they are of women's boxing at its highest level.
Well, I'll let you go. I don't think anybody's saying, oh, it's the women now. We love it. We love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we go to Cynthia from Ring TV, please.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, Tasha. Cynthia Conte from Ring TV, Ring Magazine. Good to see you again.
Good,
I remember the last time we spoke, I kept advocating for this fight for you to have a rematch with Katie Taylor, and now it has come about. Let's talk about the challenges. Does that fight back in 2012 with her, does that ever replay back in your mind when you're training for this fight? Or do you just put it all away and have Joel Gallagher do it all for you?
No, I think the only thing that I remember is, you know, the pain of losing, which I don't want to do. So the actual fight itself, there's not really much that we can take from that fight because it's 9 years ago. We are two different people, two different boxers, and even though it's the same sport, it's different. You know, we're not point scoring. We've got more than 4 rounds, and you know, you get being a bigger puncher benefits you. You know, in amateurs, you get knocked down, you just get a point, and that's it. You know, here you win 10-8 rounds, so there's lots of differences, and I don't think we're even the same people that we are then. We're going to present the best version of us now.
I saw on your Instagram that I remember when we did talk about you were a mother, you had to lose weight, and Joe wanted you to come back into boxing. And now your daughter is working alongside of you. She has your back. Talk about your daughter being in training camp with you for such a mega fight.
It's massive. You know, she not only does she get to see what mum does, she knows what that a box, and she's kind of, mum's work is the gym. But she never actually knew what went into what happens in the gym. Now she does. She's motivation for me. You know, she's counting me reps as I'm doing them. She's giving me water in between rounds. I'm chasing her down the track. And for me, just to have her there is inspiration in itself. And for me being a mum, I hope she sees that, you know, all the hard work that goes into it. And just because, you know, people say things and put barriers up and whatever, that, you know, if you work hard, that anything is possible.
I never understood when we talked about being a mother in sport, but now I am a new mother as of 12 days ago. That's why I couldn't interview you.
Congratulations, I didn't know, yeah.
I was in labor. And lastly, what do you find more challenging, fighting or working behind the mic?
I think the training for the fight is the hardest bit. Like, fights are won and lost in the gym, but I love that also. That's the part that I love the most, because you're pushing yourself every time you walk through the door. But definitely just sitting back and chilling and you know, critiquing other people's boxing is easier than, you know, the stress of you going into the ring and performing and living up to what you expect of yourself.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, Tasha, this weekend, and stay safe in the ring, both you and Katie.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Cynthia. If we go to Jim Conlon next, please.
Hi, Tasha. Jim Conlon here from RCB Radio Sport Ireland. Tasha, you mentioned there about the last time you met, it was only 4 rounds. This time around now, we're in a professional sort of environment, we're a longer sort of fight. Does that really sort of change the game plan in terms of strategy, in terms of those opening rounds, to try and settle your way into the sort of fight? Because we know Katie Taylor is not a person you want to be hunting rounds back of or chasing down. So is it wise to take on a sort of a different strategic approach rather than the last time you met, in terms of a longer sort of more cagier sort of a fight in terms of those opening rounds?
I think I just think pro boxing is different anyway. Than obviously the longer rounds mean you know, you're not chasing the points. So sometimes in amateur, if you're, you know, 2 points down, 3, 4, 5 points down after the second round, you chasing that for 2 rounds leaves you more vulnerable. If you're 2 rounds down in professional boxing, you've got another 8 rounds to catch it up. You know, so it's not the same kind of like stress and pressure, because you've got, it feels like you've got more time to get, like I say, catch it up.
Just one more for me, Tasha, to you. Do you think we see Katie in the ring, she never seems to get phased or sort of flustered, and would that be a big sort of onus for you, a big sort of psychological plus, if you could maybe fluster her or unfaze her in the opening sort of rounds, in terms of make her think on the spot?
Obviously, yeah. Anytime you can physically see, you always look trying to pick up on stuff on your opponents. You know what they're going to do next, or you know what shot hit, or what reactions they've got to what shots you're throwing. And I think to be able to physically see that you've hit it is obviously a gold mine for any boxer. But just because we don't, I wouldn't say that she's never been hurt, or she hides it well, is what I will say, is that, you know, she's been in this game for so long, and she's such a boxing IQ is so up there that she masks it well. I don't think that she hasn't not been hurt, and I do think she has been flustered. I do think she's been, it's just that either commentary doesn't pick up on it, or she masks it that well that we don't see it.
Best luck, Tasha.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, if we go to Cesar Jones next, please.
Hi, Tasha. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're all right?
I'm good, thanks. Obviously, similar to the Terry Harper fight, you're going into this one as the underdog. How are you using that as motivation?
Again, it's just, you know, the worst thing you can tell me is that I'm like worse than my little girl. The worst thing you can tell me is that I can't do it, because I'm going to prove to you that I can. So yeah, you know, people have been putting me in boxes and putting, you know, barriers up to what they say they believe that I can do, be, see, and for my whole life I've been knocking them down and proving them wrong. So, you know, being the underdog for me is nothing new.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck on Saturday.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, if we go to Gail next, please.
Hi, Natasha.
Are you all right?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I just wanted to ask about your last fight with Terry Harper. there's a lot of talk on social media where a lot of people actually think that you did enough to take the win in that fight. Does that make you feel like you have to take the decision away for the judges next time around?
No, I've just got to. It puts a thought in my mind that I have to win more convincingly. That it does put that in my mind. But what the judges do, like I said before, I can't control that. So there's no point in stressing about it. And once the decision's made, it's not going to be unmade. So I can just only do what I can do. And hopefully they see what everybody else sees.
Thanks a lot and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. If you go to Carlos Toro next, please.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. You know, when it comes to prepare for this fight, obviously for titles at lightweight compared to your last fight, fighting for a title at super featherweight, how different do you feel physically now that you have those extra pounds to sort of work with compared to the Terry Harper fight? Do you feel better physically, or how different do you feel in preparation for this fight compared to the last one?
It's actually mad. I went for testing not just before, like last week. Even though I'm heavier, I'm actually muscle mass leaner. My fat percentage has dropped and is lower than Harper. So I feel like I do, like people say all the time, you know, physically in the best shape of my life, because you expect to be. But I genuinely do feel like that. You know, I'm stronger. My stats are saying that I'm better. Everything says that I'm better.
Thanks, Natasha. Best of luck on Saturday.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, we go to Louis from Fight Post next, please.
Oh, hi, Natasha. So this question's less about your fight on Saturday, more just about your career in general. So I was thinking, when it's all, you know, said and done, you're retired, how would you like to be remembered as a boxer and as a person?
As a game changer. Simple, be all and handle, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't elaborate on that anymore, but that's it, yeah. That's game changer and champion, that's it.
Thank you, cheers.
Okay, have you got a Jesse with your hand up, if you want to ask you a question? If not, we'll move on. Okay, we've got Brett, if you want to ask your question, mate.
Cheers, Dan. Hi, Tash. Thanks very much for giving us the time to speak to you.
No problems.
It's just a quick one. You mentioned earlier that there's an aura around Katie Taylor that's actually made her seem human-like and not invincible, I think, as a lot of people have previously referred to. You're known as what we saw from the previous Terry Harper fight, that you bring so much pressure and you bring so much energy. Is there that element on Saturday, and when we talk about this aura, that Katie Taylor potentially won't like to have it put on her with that much pressure?
Potentially. I'm just what I did for the Harper was prepare for every eventuality and put the best version of me on show. I do think the cut changed things a little bit because I had to be protective of the eye because I didn't want it to get any worse. So that was something that I didn't account for, that happened. And you've got to change as you do in boxing. There's always stuff that happens. But for me, you know, sorry, I forgot the question.
Are you going to be able to put it on her on Saturday? Do you think she's going to do?
Oh yeah, I'll just be putting my best foot forward and I've prepared for every version that she can come with and the best version of everything that she can come with. So we'll see.
All right, Tash. Thanks very much, and good luck for Saturday.
Nice one.
Okay, we go to Steve from Boxing UK, please.
Hi, Tasha. It's Steve from Boxing UK.
You all right, Steve?
Hello. Tasha, last time we spoke, you said this was the biggest fight of your pro career. Can you tell us exactly why? And can we expect another fight of the year contender?
You can always expect a fight of the year contender when I'm in the ring. Steve, you're going to have to change it up before I start speaking.
You were all right last time.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think we've just got styles that gel, and it's going to be fireworks. And the best version of me versus the best version of Katie. You know, what is there not to like? You know, what was the first part of your question as well? Sorry.
Yeah, you said to us last time that it was the biggest fight of your pro career. Why is that?
It's just, I kicked up a fuss and cried and spat my dummy out about not being able to have 2 belts. And now I've got the chance to box for 4 and be undisputed lightweight champion. And, if you can't get yourself up for nights like this, you're probably in the wrong spot.
Absolutely. Best luck at the weekend, Tasha. Take care.
Nice one.
Thanks, Steve. We go to Gavin next, please.
Hi, Tasha. Going back as far as Katie's professional debut, I think you did punditry for Sky that night. You were ringside and you were asked afterwards, would you fancy getting in with her again then? And you kind of laughed it off and jokingly said no. And I guess later in her career, we saw Ava Wallstrom, another amateur rival of hers, move up in weight, fight Katie, perform well, but afterwards admit that she actually didn't really believe she would beat Katie. It was more a kind of a life experience for her to fight her as a pro and test herself against the best without that innate belief that she could actually beat her. Do you have that innate belief, or is this a kind of a similar thing with Wallstrom? I don't mean it to be a disrespectful question, but is it about testing yourself or actually going in fully believing you would win?
No, it is a good question. Genuinely, in the 2012 Olympics, I believe, like I said, she was the only person in the Olympics that could have beat me, and it's just unfortunate that it drew her so early and then we fought early. And I do think she was just the better boxer, and she was the only one that I didn't want to draw, because I did deep down inside knew that she could beat me. Now I think, like I say, I keep saying it, with 2 different boxers, and I think that means that puts us in good stead for a whole different version of me and a whole different version of Katie, because I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the clout as in the belt, but I'm not in it for anything like that. But this is intrinsic, and I genuinely believe I can win, and I wouldn't say otherwise.
Thanks a million. Best of luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, guys, we've got 3 bivol just waiting to bring. We've got one more. So, Donna, if you're there, do you want to ask your final question, please?
Who? Did you said Marshall Brown?
No, Donut. Can you hear me?
Oh
mate?
yeah. Hey, what's up? Sorry, I didn't hear the call. Yeah. Natasha, first off, thank you for taking the time to talk. What I notice when I look at the coverage and the way that people talk about boxing versus, for example, mixed martial arts, you had these 2 huge title fights over the weekend over in MMA, and the entire discussion beforehand is about strategy. It's about who's got the better kicks, who's got the better wrestling. Whereas with women's boxing, it appears that there's always some element of historical significance. It always seems like something is happening for the women's sport in women's boxing. What do you think that promoters need to do to make it more just a part of everyday discussion of the sport, women's fights?
I think, like I said before, we are moving in the right direction when people are saying, why aren't you topping the bill? As opposed to, so many years ago saying, why are women boxing? It shows that we've come a long way, and people, like I say, are entertained by boxing at its highest level, and we're the big driving force in that, we as the athletes. I think getting out on the big shows, I think, being visible to everybody, men, women, we're 50% of the population, but we're not 50% of the boxing audience. So we need to appeal. We need to get out there and be appealing to everybody, and just being visible. The brand power that certain promoters and the media have. You need to get in supporters and just be fair. We go on a lot, but it's not fair.
I have to get across.
Okay, Tasha, really appreciate your time.